Hello YouTube! So I've been watching and discussing in my anime rundown videos Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest. There's been so much happening in that show that I thought it deserved its own video to recap what's been going on since I last discussed. In my last update, we were wondering what the White Mage did to the Fairy Tail Guild. It appeared like they had all died. We soon found out that wasn't quite the case. This revelation was quickly followed by a little trip to Fairy Nail, which gave us the doppelgangers of all the Fairy Tail Guild members, and that was very funny, very comedic. We then get the revelation that the location they were in this whole time, it is on top of their next dragon that is so big, it's got 5 gigantic cities on it. Like, oh my god, I was shocked. I was like, wow, that is big, that is intimidating. How are we gonna tackle this? Are we gonna see that thing jump up and they're gonna try to fight it? Like, oh my god. This was also followed by the revelation that the White Mage, who is inhabiting Toka, brainwashed and is mind controlling the members of the Fairy Tail Guild, and our core 5 are going to be tasked with fighting their guild members. So that sums up what's been going on. Now I'll dive into the storylines kind of character by character. So first we have Natsu. He's been doing the most fighting as of late, I would say. He's had a lot going on. Natsu was fighting Gagio and Levy. They gave up a good fight, but everybody involved went a little easy because of Levy's pregnancy. And it was like, I feel like this brainwashing isn't affecting you as much as it should. But maybe that's just their sheer willpower to protect the baby fighting back. But Natsu wasn't going as hard. We also got a little Gagio short story animated, and I thought that was cute. But the more interesting battle has been the recent one, and it was Natsu's battle with Wraith, the spirit dragon. And wow, I couldn't believe how this was unfolding when we got introduced to Wraith. It was a chilling introduction because Natsu saw Wraith, and Wraith was like, oh, only the people that I can eat can see me. And we get happy not seeing Wraith. It was like, ooh, plot twist. They get to feuding, and Natsu can't fight a ghost, so Wraith is beating him up so bad, it seems like Natsu's died. We obviously know Natsu's not gonna die, like, please. But it sure led to some interesting happenings. He awakens in the clouds where he's met with Zereth, Mavis, and Igneel. And these were cool interactions. I was happy to learn that they're all at peace. I would be lying if I said it didn't make my heart ache a little bit to not see Zera there and see Mavis and Zera back together again, because Zereth and Mavis are fine, but Mavis and Zera, that was where my heart was. Number 1, Mavis and Zera shipper. Oh my god, they have such chemistry, and I think Zera being the fairy at the end of Fairy Tail proper, one of the best endings in TV history, I would say. It was that strong. So it just made me a little sad not to even have really any mention of Zera, but for what this was, it was a cool scene to see these characters who are so important to Natsu, seeing him in the afterlife. We flash back to Wraith. He's about to eat Natsu's soul, but then Natsu starts fighting back. We see Natsu versus Wraith, and Natsu is in a spirit form now. He's basically the same as he was, but the saturation on his character has been turned down. He's Ghost now, so he goes through walls. There's a lot of comedic moments with that. It's pretty funny, but he's doing a number on Wraith. Wraith has to figure something out. So Wraith, he seeks out a target. He lists off his 3 rules. One of them is, if it's a family member, it'll make me stronger. So he can't find a family member, but he's like, Makarov is the strongest magical energy here. So he goes in Makarov. It seems like, oh, are we getting Makarov versus Natsu in some form. But Wraith is powered up Makarov, and Natsu, you're in trouble. It seemed like Natsu was about to be done for. Obviously, we know not gonna happen, but it seemed that's what they presented to us. But then we see Wraith being like, oh, maybe Makarov is a family member. So we jump to a flashback. We're flashing back to old Fairy Tail. We see a young Makarov. We see some other familiar faces. We're in the Fairy Tail Guild. They bring in Wraith, a live Wraith, on his deathbed, about to die. Makarov is over his body in tears, and Wraith is like, well, I don't even know, you don't know me that well. Why would you care? And Makarov's like, you're part of Fairy Tail, you're family. It's like, oh, there it is. Oh yeah, they put that family rule in there for a reason. But it was a really touching scene. Now that Wraith, who didn't have the memories before, now knows that, oh, this is family, he is relieved to finally know what happened to him, and he's at peace now. So he goes off to the afterlife. Natsu, count your blessings, because you are about to be destroyed, okay? But this was a really cool arc, this Natsu versus Wraith. I really did enjoy it. But now, Natsu's back alone, and he's back trying to get in the mix. He comes face to face with Toka. Not the white mage, Toka, because we see Toka and she is thrilled to finally come face to face with Natsu. We're finally gonna get that interaction when the next episode picks up. I'm so excited to see that play out. And that's where we leave Natsu. I'll move on to Lucy. We start seeing her with her doppelganger, and her doppelganger is romantically involved with Natsu's doppelganger. A little tease of that romance. Of course, Lucy and Natsu aren't together, but just a little tease for the shippers out there. I don't really care about Lucy and Natsu as a couple, but if they ever got together, I'd be like, cool. I just don't care enough. I'm not invested enough to see that happen. But this was a nice little tease. I enjoyed it. Back when Lucy gets up to date with all the brainwashing, she is tasked with going up against Mira Jane, Luzana, and Elfman. Speaking of Mira Jane, she had a sad moment when it was revealed that our Fairy Tail Guild members were being mind controlled. And the white mage had Luzana and Elfman stomp all over Mira Jane. It was so sad. It's just like, oh, you're evil for that. You're evil. Back to Lucy, though. The coolest moment of this entire sequel series so far was when we saw Lucy's magical girl transformation. She went into her Virgo and Leo form. Oh my god, it was so cool. I love a good magical girl anime. I just filmed a Precure video, so this was giving me very Precure. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. It was everything I could have wanted. She had some other cool form swaps, and these resulted in her being able to take down Luzana. Mira Jane and Elfman, they got away. And then we had Lucy arriving to Gray versus Kana. Kana had been knocked out, and Lucy went up to her, snatched her cards, was like, okay, I can do this magic, we can use these cards, and we can keep the defeated guild members in there to keep them safe. So she goes to do that, but then Kana knocks her out with some magic. And when they get the mind control brainwash, they lost control of their powers. So this told us that Kana wasn't brainwashed. She was just drunk. Typical Kana. We get Kana back in the mix with Lucy and Gray. It'll be very exciting to see moving forward. Lucy and Kana back reunited. They've always been a fun pair. I'll move on to Wendy, and she's had the least to do in these past few episodes. She's had her own little fight, but it's mostly been played for comedy. But Wendy, she's been providing. She's not like gone. She's cool, but not a standout right now. Moving on to Urza, we had her take a pretty significant role with the doppelganger stuff at Fairy Nail. When we had her and Elkis, they switched places. Urza got to have her comedic shine. She took over Elkis's job. And then we also, another comedic moment, we got the short story Gloomy Urza. And this one had Juvia making Urza try out her kissing techniques. And that was also a very fun comedic Urza moment. Comedic Urza is so funny. So funny. So these few episodes here before she started fighting were very fun. But once we get all the brainwashing stuff established, Urza is quickly met up with Jalal. Who's shocked? Of course, they're gonna throw these two together and have them fight. Urza did have some reflection during the Doppelganger episodes about Jalal, and I guess those factored in a little bit. I don't really care about Urza and Jalal as a couple, honestly. I've never been too invested in them. But upon matching up against each other and fighting, we see that Jalal is being unusually open with his feelings. It's a bit disturbing, to say the least. The thing with Fairy Tail is sometimes they have very distasteful jokes that I just don't like. So a lot of this Jalal stuff factored into that. Urza speculates that the mind control affected Jalal differently. Maybe because he's not really in the Fairy Tail Guild. Maybe he's faking it. I don't know. There's got to be something there, or maybe they're just being inconsistent with the mind control. Who knows? One thing I will say is either Toka is getting in there and she is messing with the mind control, or the White Mage, she needs to do some more practicing because she's not as good as she thinks she is. Because this is sad. How do you have all these people failing? You have Gajil and Levi protecting their pregnancy over fighting. You have Kana being too drunk to get any effect. You have Juvia, who she wasn't brainwashed at all. And now we have Jalal acting a mess. Do better, White Mage. Laxus and Kyria also appear here. We get kind of 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1. And Urza ends up separating off with Jalal, ties him up. She defeats him, manipulates him, whatever. There was some more distasteful jokes. Some were funny, some were too much. But Laxus versus Kyria is very impressed. Despite Laxus having a weakness in his heart, he's able to be so strong. And she develops a crush on him. That'll be very funny. I buy that dynamic. I think they could be a fun coupling. Urza comes back after Laxus defeats Kyria, and we set up Urza versus Laxus for the next episode. And you know that's going to be good. Of course, I have all my money on Urza, because who's beating her? But it'll be very entertaining. Now, last but not least, I think I kind of saved the best for last with these few episodes, was Gray. And we start with him in the Fairy Nail storyline. He had the best of all of the Fairy Nail storylines as he met up with Juvina. Of course, Juvina is Juvia's doppelganger. He reflected on his relationship with Juvia, and he reveals that he does love her, but he doesn't think he's good enough for her, and he doesn't want to get with her until he's able to protect her. I love Gray and Juvia. I don't know why, but I'm endeared to them. I've always shipped them. That's been like the fairy tale ship, besides some of the gay ones. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh my God, I was screaming. Like, this was everything. Gray. I love to see Juvia get vindicated and shown that, yes, Gray does love Juvia. She's not just delusional. Gray loves to play coy. He loves to play in Juvia's feelings, but Juvia is right. Gray does love her too. But after the Fairy Nail stuff, we actually get Juvia reuniting with Gray and the other members, and it's revealed that she's not under the mind control. She is, however, powerless. So Gray, who was just going on about how he wanted to be good enough to protect Juvia, he is now tasked with protecting Juvia as they go on to fight the brainwashed members of Fairy Tail, because Juvia can't really protect herself without her power. She can do some, but she can't fight as much as she usually could. Gray goes up against the Thunder God tribe, and of course he's able to take them down easily. Like, please. we weren't expecting them to do good in that fight at all. They can hold their heads up high that it lasted as long as it did. But there's still more guild members to take down. Gray was met with a drunk Kana, and of course I already explained how that went. So now we have Gray teamed up with Lucy and Kana moving forward, and that's where we left it. My theory is I think we are gonna get some payoff to the Gray wanting to protect Juvia moment before this arc ends, where Gray really gets to protect Juvia. I think it would be a great time to do that full circle moment and to progress their romantic relationship. And usually I'm like, do we really have the guy protecting the girl? But we've seen Juvia protect Gray so many times. I think it's pretty equal here. And it's time for Gray to show to Juvia that, like, oh, I got your back. It'll be very nice. But that's where we are with Fairy Tail right now. I'm really enjoying the 100 Years quest so far. I enjoyed the first arc, and this second arc seems to be progressing quite nicely. And we've got a lot of exciting things going on. I think it's just gonna get better and better. I was debating waiting until the arc was done to make this video, but I was like, I don't know, I feel like there might be a lot happening. So here I am. I had to get my thoughts out. Loving it. I'll keep watching, and of course I will be back to update it again sometime soon. We got 12 episodes done out of 25. So until next time, bye.